Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world. How is everybody today? So, I just had a nice hot shower, had some lunch, sitting here drinking my coffee, and it's time to react to Chantal's newest video or vlog, whatever you want to call it, called Canadian Culture Shock. And I will pre warn you that is kind of boring, but I watched it ahead of time because I wanted to see if it was worth reacting to. And she said a lot of things that I just have a lot to say. So I'm going to make a video and share my thoughts with all of you. So let's talk about Foodie Beauty for just a second before we get into her vlog, video, whatever you do want to call it. Foodie Beauty is someone that she's over in Kuwait. And she knew ahead of time that she was going to be going to Kuwait. Did Foodie do everything that she could do to learn about Kuwait, about the culture, about the people, about manners and how to behave and the laws? No, no, she didn't. Or if she did, when she went to Kuwait, she basically just had no disregard to anything and thought she could just do whatever she wanted. And considering what she's been doing lately, she's been literally breaking laws over there, filming people, filming locations, filming buildings, filming oil fields, and all of that can get her into serious trouble. Y'all just give me a second. My cat wants to get out of the door. 1 second. There you go, Booger. Go on. My cat is inside my bedroom and she wants to wander around the house, so I'm going to go ahead and let her out. Sorry about that. So, yeah, Foodie, even though she's very interested in Sala, you would think someone who's very interested in someone who's interested in a relationship with somebody from, say, another culture, that if you're passionate about the person in the right way, then you would want to learn all you can, not just about the person that you're getting involved with, but perhaps their culture, their people, where they live, and just be very passionate about that as well. But Foodie just doesn't care that much. A little something about me, something you guys don't know. I would one day love to go to Japan. I love Japanese rock. Yoshiki, is that how you say his name? Hyde. I love Japanese rock. And I've always just thought Japan was fascinating to me and I would love to go. But even though I have not gone, just out of respect, I'm very big on respect and manners. I've learned a lot about the culture. I've learned a lot about the people and Japan as a country, and especially about manners, because I think manners are very important. That when you go to another country, no matter who you are, no matter how much money you are a guest in that country. And so you should behave as a guest as you would being a guest in somebody's house. You go to another country, you are in essence in somebody else's house. So act right and be respectful. So I learned a lot about the Japanese culture, about manners, what would be considered disrespectful. So if I ever go to Japan, I won't offend anybody. And it's really sad to see it. Here's Chantal, and she has traveled to another country, and she's been completely disrespectful, and to the point where she's doing illegal things and breaking laws. So with that said, let me go ahead and just share the screen so you guys can see and hear everything, because I want you guys to be a part of this. So there's Twitter. Let's start with Twitter. So here are some of the clips from the video itself, which is about 20 minutes long. Here's the first one from Hidden Truths, saying Foodie Beauty, that's a joke, right? Sala sees her going in the right path of change, and she's changing as a person. But then when he's sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning, she sleeps. My tongue doesn't want to function today. She sneaks in Nader's live stream and tells his girlfriend she can take him back whenever she feels like it. Nader still loves her. You know, Hidden, I am so sorry. I don't think Nader loves her. I think Nader loves her money. I think he likes the attention that he gets from being connected to Foodieverse. And I'm sure that Nader has seen what happens when you are connected to Foodieverse and then you get disconnected. You know, like in the case of Roman. Roman was connected to Foodieverse for about 5 minutes. And then when he got disconnected, he was essentially pushed to the background and nobody really cares about him. So Nader is just over there trying to stay relevant. And his attempts of getting Foodie's attention or trying to stay relevant are actually pretty sad and pathetic. It's so cringeworthy. Like in a live stream he did, he actually dressed up his living room to look like a tent area. And the live stream that he did recently, he brought a girl over, and I guess that was his way of trying to get to Foodie. I mean, he's just doing the most, trying to stay relevant. He's even gone so far as to talk about different reactors in his live stream. And if you want my opinion, I think he's doing that because he wants someone to fight with him. He wants someone to talk about him just so he's got content for his channel and he can stay relevant. You know, he is that guy walking into a crowded room, swinging his fists around, looking for someone to fight with. But here's the thing. Nobody really wants to cover Nader. One, because he's boring. Two, because he's been too strike happy. So he kind of shot himself in the foot doing that. But yeah, Nader's been doing the most over there. But let's get back to this clip that Hidden Truth posted about Miss Chantal.
Always been nothing but just like so open to, he sees the changes in me, he's supportive of it, and he actually helps. Like I've said many times, being with someone who helps you on this healing process, recognizes that you have a good heart. And
Okay, can I just stop her here, please? I've already got so many thoughts and I have to share them with all of you that are on my channel. You know what I hate? I hate Chantal using the word changes. She's saying when you're making changes in her life. I don't think she's changed. I think she is just more, what's the word I'm looking for? Subdued. But who she is still very much in place. She's just toned it down because of Sala and because of where she is. But she has not changed who she is. That's why I don't like her using that word change. Because when you change yourself, that means, let's just say you got some nasty habits. You put the work in and you change those nasty habits. She's not changed anything. She just turned down the volume button. She just muted it a little, but she's not really changed. And I can say that with full confidence because she's in Kuwait. And although she does have the chance to try all the lovely foods of Kuwait, all the wonderful, healthy foods of Kuwait, and really expand her palate and understand there's more food out there beyond fast food that's healthy, it tastes good, it's good for you. What is she hyper focused on? The fast food. What does she get excited over? The fast food. So she hasn't changed anything. She's got the chance to maybe break away from her food addiction. She hasn't done it. And I think maybe in the beginning, Sala was trying to get her to change how she was eating. But as I've said before, when you have a food addiction, when you have an addiction, period, and it gets to a certain level, it's over your head. And at that point, you need professional help. You need counseling. You need maybe to see a therapist. Chantal has probably one of the most extreme BEDs I have ever seen. She is an emotional eater. She's got food aggression. She's so hyper fixated on food. It's insane. So just taking away her food or denying her a certain portion is not going to get it done. I think that Sala tried to stop her from eating, but I think perhaps they had a conversation in the background and she told him, look, this is what people pay me for. They pay me to eat on camera. And so if he's relying on her money, he's going to say, okay, do what you got to do. So he just let go of the control. And that's why she's eating all the fast food now and he ain't saying nothing. So you're not changing, Chantal. You're just turning the volume down a bit. But let's see what happens when you go back to Canada and you've got all of your addictions available to you and you have no stop button. You won't have Sala there to be your control. See, because right now you're trying to use him as a sort of control. And that's the thing. If you're using somebody else as control, that means you don't have control. And if you don't have control, that means you haven't really changed.
And a willingness to change and respect yourself more. And it's just made such a difference in this journey. I'm not perfect and I'm still struggling sometimes.
No, you're not. See, I hate that language too. I hate her saying, I'm struggling. Struggling means you're trying to change things. You're trying to stay away from things that you know are not good for you. She's not staying away from anything. I mean, I saw that recent live stream where either she or Sala bought a whole kilo of the pastry desserts with the cheese in the middle. How is that struggling? If you're sitting, you got a whole kilo, not even just a little bit, Chantal, a whole kilo, a whole pan of desserts. How is that struggling? You're not trying to stay away from the things you know you shouldn't have.
Change is not linear and it's not overnight. If everyone's patient with me, I think I'm on the right track. I feel it. One thing, speaking of acceptance and friendliness and big hearts, is how welcoming people are. One of the cultural customs is always been nothing but just.
Okay, so that's the first clip from Hidden Truths. Let's go on to the next one. Also from Hidden Truths saying, Foodie Beauty, not Chantal, saying, if you don't respect the laws of Kuwait, you can be arrested. That's refreshing coming from someone who just broke several by filming government sites in oil fields. Yeah, I watched this vlog video thing earlier, and I kept getting a sense that Foodie is nervous. She's nervous because she knows what she's done is wrong, and she knows that she can get in serious trouble. I got a sense that she was a bit nervous and subdued because she knows deep down what she did was wrong and she could potentially go to jail. And so I don't know, maybe this is her like trying to act like, oh, you should respect Kuwait and the laws and da da da. It just did not feel like the real Chantal. It felt like the Chantal that had done something wrong and was afraid of getting in trouble. You know, so before she gets in trouble, she's taking a preemptive strike and doing this video. That's what it felt like to me. So those are the two clips from Hidden Truths. So let's go on to the actual video itself, which is about 20 minutes long. So let's get to. Did she allow the comments today? Oh, she did. We'll get to those in a minute. Yay, we finally get some comments to react to. She hasn't allowed that the longest. I'm sure they're interesting. So let's do this.
It's like a sit down and talk video, and I haven't made one of these in a little while, but I like doing them once in a while just to talk about certain subjects. So today's subject is going to be cultural differences. I get asked a lot to talk about cultural differences between here and Canada. If you're new here, I am Canadian. I'm from Ottawa, Ontario, born and raised in Canada, and I recently married a Syrian man, Salah. He is Syrian. He was born and raised in Kuwait. So I'm currently.
Before we get into her slightly boring, I take that back. It's not slightly boring. It just is boring. Let's just be honest here. I'm going to tell you guys something. So I was curious about what was going on with Salah and Chantal. And I did a tarot reading for myself, like just to see what the cards would say. Y'all want to know what my card said? And by the way, I'm going to do a live tarot reading probably later on tonight or tomorrow. Chantal's video just dropped, so that means everybody's going to cover it, so I'll wait till that's over. But what my cards basically said is right now, Chantal is in Kuwait. What's going on with her and Salah is she's living out her fantasy. This is her fantasy. You know, this is what she wanted. She wanted to find a good-looking guy, and she wants to be married. And the whole situation with her and Salah, it's kind of funny in a way because she and Salah, they're both scammers. So it's funny to think about two scammers that scam people. They're scamming each other. And that's kind of a similar situation that she had with Nader because I'm pretty certain that they looked at each other and thought each person was weaker than what they were. Like Nader looked at her and thought, oh, she's an overweight woman. She's stupid. I can just get anything I want out of her and then just leave her in the dust. And she looked at him like, oh, this guy's got no money and he's easy to take advantage of. And boy, did they find out they were both wrong. And they took each other on a wild ride. So we got a similar situation over here with Salah. I mean, Salah has a different personality than Nader. Nader's a big old hothead, and he just constantly popping off at the mouth, whereas Salah is a bit more subdued, quiet. If he's got something to say to you, he's not going to say it in front of the camera. He's going to wait till the camera's off so nobody knows about it, whereas Nader is going to pop off on camera. He don't care. But here's what I think happened with her and Salah. I think Chantal put on this innocent angel act with Salah. I think that they, before he met her, they video chatted, and he thought he was reeling in a big fish, you know, as far as someone who has money. Like he worked her, but the entire time, Chantal never let him see what she really looked like. I don't think he got a good gander at her until she got to Kuwait. So he worked her, and then she got there, and he was shocked, her looking different. I honestly don't think that Salah knew half of what Chantal has done, but I think over time he's found out and he's not pleased with it. And that's why there's such a visible split now between them. That and the fact that they really are not into each other. She's not in love with Salah. She's in love with the idea of Salah. She's in love with the idea of being married. But for all that we see on camera, she's just putting on appearances. She's not happy. She's completely miserable. But Chantal is such a narcissistic, egotistical, prideful person. Her pride and her ego are more important than just doing the right thing. You know, she'll stay in Kuwait forever if she has to, rather than say, you know what, the reaction channels were right, the viewers were right, this whole thing is wrong, and I should just leave. Coupled with the fact that we know Chantal. She's very obsessive when it comes to men. If you want my opinion, I think that yes, she can only stay in Kuwait for 3 months unless she files for an extension. My opinion, I think Salah is going to have a hell of a time making her leave. I think she's going to perhaps stay past her visa time. She's not going to be happy leaving, that's for sure, because Chantal is that woman that if you're a man, the only way she can trust you and be secure is if she's sitting right next to you. Any distance further than that, she feels insecure, she feels jealous, she loses her mind. She's got to be sitting next to you to feel secure because she knows exactly what you're doing because you're right there. So I think she's going to not want to leave Kuwait. She's going to stay with Salah probably longer than what she should. Uh, Maybe she's thinking that he'll fall in love with her and then she could just stay there and he'll take care of her. I don't know. But the my cards were saying last night she's miserable and she's going to end up alone. The last card was the hermit card, loneliness, feeling lonely, feeling isolated. So what we're seeing right now on camera is just, it's a fake front. She's not happy. She's lonely. But at the same time, she's lonely. She likes the attention she's getting being around Sala. And this is her fantasy. This is her role play that she wanted so badly. And she doesn't want to let go of it no matter how unhappy she is. So this misery that she's going through is going to continue just because she can't swallow her pride and come back to Canada where she should be.
In Kuwait, and I get asked a lot, basically, if there's any kind of culture shock. So I'm sure you guys want to know my perception of the society, how I compare things with the Western world where I'm from, and what it's just been like for me on this journey so far. Honestly, there's not as much culture shock as I imagined because I did do some research before I came here out of respect. I always want to be respectful of.
Well, whatever research you did about the country, the people, the culture, obviously you didn't do enough because you've been breaking laws all over the place. Filming buildings and filming locations you shouldn't. I mean, how much respect are you showing the country and their laws and their government by doing that? You should have done plenty of research, Chantal, and you didn't. You probably just did a little bit. Or maybe you're just going off strictly off of maybe what Sala was telling you, but obviously you did not do enough, or if you did, you don't care. You just want to do what you want to do, and you need to be careful because you can easily end up in jail.
Of different cultures and their customs. So, if I ever travel anywhere, it's going to be important for me to respect these differences. To me, differences, especially cultural, are not bad. It's just that they're differences and that's what they are. So I try to embrace everything and try to understand everything that I can. We don't always have to agree with things when things are different and we're not used to them or things we don't understand, but it's still important to respect them. So, I'm going to talk about some things, some misconceptions I believed before coming here, some things that I found very different, and then some things that some information I got from the Kuwait visa website, which makes sense. It's where you can go and get an e-visa from a select list of countries. If your country's on there, you can apply online to get a tourist visa here. Kuwait is a lot more open to tourism than it was in the past, and compared to a lot of other Middle Eastern countries as well. But the information was on the website probably to prepare travelers from different parts of the world as to what you can expect when it comes to different cultural customs here. So I'll just share some of this information with you if you are thinking of.
This was a missed opportunity. This was a missed opportunity and weird. It was weird because this culture shock video, this was easily a video that Sala could have been a part of. I mean, they could have talked together on this video. Why is she doing it by herself? He could have added information in with this video. He's not anywhere here.
Of coming here because this place is beautiful, as you've seen from our vlogs. The beaches, everything, just the food, the people are so friendly. It's amazing here. So yes, let's get into it. That's kind of going to be all over the place in my style of doing a video. But anyway, one of the biggest things I was surprised about, I thought for some reason, probably like a lot of people, I was ignorant a lot when it came to thinking of the Middle East. I thought of like everyone in the Middle East just being like much poorer than Canada or the US. And it's just like.
That's typical Chantal. She's always looking down her nose at other people and thinking she's so high above everybody else. We've all heard Chantal trying to poor shame people. Example, her talking about FFG and trying to insinuate that FFG lives in a Motel 6, which I don't see a problem with somebody living in a Motel 6 if that's what they can afford. You know, your home is your home. You got a roof over your head, that's good enough. And trying to shame Kaya for where she lives, for some reason, Chantal just thinks she's so far above everyone else. And because she's on YouTube and she's got a channel and she has a certain number of subscribers and she gets a certain check amount a month, she could just look down her nose at everybody. So I guess her original point of view was everybody in that country is poor. Was it because you were looking for people to take advantage of, Chantal? Oh, there might be somebody in that country is poor, so they'll jump at the chance to work with me, and because I've got a bunch of money. Because that's something that I've noticed also. You know, if you look through Chantal's history of the men that she's hung around, that she wants to make a companion of, it's always somebody that they're at a financial disadvantage. You know, she's not looking for the guy that has a steady job and steady money and is independent. She doesn't want an independent man that stands on his own. She's always looking for guys that they're hurting financially, and then she could just swoop in and make her offers, and they'll just jump on it. And then once they jump on it, then if she likes them, they'll never be able to leave her. So there's Chantal for you. Like, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say what I'm feeling, right or wrong. Chantal is predatory. She looks for people to prey on. And she'll take her money and she'll bait the hook with it and throw it into the ocean and see who bites.
A really small way of thinking, but that's how I thought. And I thought, oh, like I'm Canadian, my money's gonna go a long way there. And it's actually like Kuwait is like the fifth richest country in the world, um, from what I read. But their currency is worth a lot more than Canadian money. So, like, for example, 1 KD.
Yeah, big oops there. So Chantal thought she was going to come to Kuwait and she'd be big balling with her paycheck, and Kuwait just sent her the Uno reverse card. The dinar is actually more pricey than her Canadian dollar. Wah wah. So she's over in Kuwait, and yes, she's making her money, but her money doesn't go very far in Kuwait. She found that out too late. Again, Chantal, you want to be a travel vlogger, right? You want to go around the world and travel. These are things that you need to research before you travel. If you're from one country and you go to another country, you see what the currency exchange rate is to have a good idea about how much you're going to be spending on lodging and food and how far your money is going to stretch. You didn't do none of that. You just, in your narcissistic ego self, thought, oh, I'm going to be big balling over there. No, you're not. And I love that for you.
Equals like 4.4 Canadian dollars. So if you do the math, so yeah, when it comes to money, I just try not to really deal with it as much as I can because it really confuses me. And my money's not worth much here, so it's better to like save as much as I can just for when I'm in Canada because it's just worth more there. Another thing I won't do here is drive. I've already talked about that in my live streams ad nauseum, so I'm not going to talk about.
Even if you could drive, where would you go? You don't know your way around Kuwait. And you didn't even take the time to learn the language. See, you get passionate about a man, but not passionate enough to do your homework and prepare by learning the language of where you're going, learning all you can about the culture, the people, the country. By learning all that stuff, learning how to have respect. Respect is something you lack for yourself, for other people. You just think you're going to walk into a country and say, I'm a big YouTuber, bow down to me? No, 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 no. Like I said, you're a guest in another country. And if you're a guest, before you walk into somebody's home, you learn all you can about where you're going to be so you can be respectful. But respectful is something you're not and you will never be.
That, but I do not want to drive here. We'll just leave that up to Sala. So, all right. Another thing I found different is the reversal of weather, climate changes. Obviously, it's so hot here. Right now, it's winter months here. So it's actually in like the 20s, but the sun is really hot during the day sometimes. And at night, it's really nice out. It's like in the 20s. It's perfect weather, not too humid most times. But
Okay, I'm going to take a minute to just point something out to everybody. Y'all remember when Chantal did her live streams and people would suggest for her to go take a walk? And she'd say, oh, it's too hot outside. She would use that as an excuse for not walking. It's too hot. With Chantal, it's either it's too hot or it's too cold. She's always going to find a reason and a way to not do something. So if you were in Canada and it's too hot in Canada to take a walk, I imagine that Kuwait is much warmer than that. Do you really expect us to believe, Chantal, that you're taking walks there? Because I don't believe it. I don't believe you're walking. I don't believe you're getting your exercise. I think you're doing exactly what you did when you were in Canada, just sitting in the room and sitting on the couch.
But in the summer, it's unbearable up to like 60. I think I heard like 63 degrees Celsius. You could fry an egg on the ground. Most people, the weather is not comfortable in the summer here to where people tend to live inside the malls, inside their homes with air conditioning. There's AC everywhere, cars, jobs. It's just you wouldn't be able to. It would be like living in Canada in the winter months without a heater. It's very, very opposite that way. In Canada, a lot of the time it'll go down to like minus 30, 35 sometimes. You can't be outside for very long in that. You need to be in the heat. Here it's the reverse. It's so hot, you need to be in the AC. And because of that, certain things are different. Like camping in the winter here. We don't camp in the winter in Canada. We camp in the summer. Um, Things like corn, certain things that are in harvest, like corn is really big in the winter here, more at the end of summer in Canada. Mating season for animals, for cats, winter, and in Canada it's in the spring, beginning of summer. So just like little differences like that, I find very interesting. I will say, and again, this information, I say this with utmost respect to Kuwaiti Arab culture in general.
You know, like I said in the beginning of this react, y'all notice that Chantal's all kinds of fidgety and she keeps looking from side to side. I just get a sense of her being nervous. Like this video is kind of how can I describe it correctly? Like she knows that what she did with filming those locations was wrong. She knows that it was against the law. And maybe she's nervous about going to jail. So let me just go ahead and do a video and speak about Kuwait and kind of put on appearances of just being a person that, oh, you should be respectful of Kuwait, da 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 da. You know, like she seems nervous here, very nervous.
It's very different. It's very different with values. It's a very, this, at least Kuwait, very conservative values, very conservative country. It's an Islamic country. 75% of people are Muslim. However, there are different religions here, and that remaining 25% of people are allowed to practice freely. You have seen in the grocery stores the Santa Claus, the Bath and Body Works had Christmas things. So they do have different, they have respect for people who want to practice different religions, though mostly they practice in their homes or things like that. It's predominantly Muslim. So because it's an Islamic country, they practice Ramadan here. They take it very seriously. And during the month of Ramadan, even as a foreigner, anyone who lives here, um, and again, if you're traveling here, please keep in mind if you're here during the month of Ramadan, um, a very religious month for Muslims, and there are laws that will put you in jail if you don't respect them. Even as a foreigner, you have to be respectful of that.
Not you talk about respecting the law when you've broken the law. Not you saying all this after breaking the law over there.
I fully understand that. I don't have a problem with that. Someday I would like to try Ramadan.
No, you wouldn't. She lies. She would not like to try Ramadan. She would make it. She would make it. Not this person who's obsessed with food talking about trying Ramadan, where those who are Muslim, if I'm not mistaken, and if I am mistaken, I apologize to anyone who might be Muslim. If I am not incorrect here, when during Ramadan, from morning until is it sunset, you don't eat unless you have a medical condition. Chantal wouldn't make it. I remember the live stream she did with Salah, and they were talking about Ramadan, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just going to sleep through it." That's how she would handle it, sleeping through it. Or she would say she has a medical condition just so she won't have to abstain from eating.
You have to fast until sundown. So if you're seen in public chewing gum, drinking, eating, unless you have like a medical exemption or something like that, mostly if you do, you still don't go in public. I think it's custom to just stay in the home, but you can be fined or arrested for not respecting those laws. Just like anywhere, if you don't respect the laws, you're gonna be in trouble, right? Some other things that are illegal in Islamic culture, things that are considered.
Yeah, she's talking. Notice how much more fidgety she's getting because she knows she's been a bad girl over there. She knows she's talking about herself.
Haram, such anti-Muslim. So things like pork products, alcohol, marijuana.
Speaking of alcohol, yeah, let's talk about that a minute, Chantal. Let's talk about that night you went into Nader's chat and you told people you had a Kirk, which is wine. That is wine. So I can't say for sure because I wasn't in the same room as you. But here's what I'm thinking. I think that you got some wine somehow and you drank a bit and you were inebriated when you went into Nader's chat and you were raging because that was drunk raging, Chantal. That was classic drunk raging, Chantal. Yeah, that was you. You've been without alcohol, you've been without the edibles for a while, so you drank and maybe it hit you harder and faster because your system's been clean for a minute. But what happened that night was classic drunk Chantal. We've seen her before. We saw her. We saw her. You remember? Like I said, you're over there breaking all kinds of laws.
Drugs, anything like that. It's also haram for Muslims to have dogs as pets in their home. So I know that you guys, a lot of you in the Western world, really love pets. I have cats. I love my cats. But having cats in the home is fine. It's not. I haven't. It's not usual. Just pets in general. In a lot of parts of the world, it's like that. But the Western world, we love our pets. But here, dogs, if they're useful, like hound dogs for hunting, police work, gathering sheep, things like that. Um, that's permitted, but to have a dog in the home, is haram. So that is why you see them in the zoo with other animals. On the other hand, that's very different from where I come from, but you don't realize it until you realize Canada is very secular, which means that there's no government mixing with religion to govern the country. I will say it's a lot more peaceful here in a lot of ways. I think that my personal belief is because of these laws in place, the big conservative placement of value, um, respect. I think a lot of the reasons that alcohol and drugs and things like that are haram is because it's damaging to the mind and body and to the spirit. And if you're religious, you value God and you value yourself, you won't want to hurt yourself with substances. And
Saying this after her acting up in Nader's chat. This, there's so many things going on here. I think that this video, this vlog of sorts, it was one part putting on the image of like talking positively about Kuwait, and I've never been to Kuwait. I'm sure it's a lovely country, with a great culture, great people. But there's one part her trying to get back into Salah's good graces because she's been screwing up, and the cracks in whatever deal they have going on is starting to show. Salah actually changed his profile picture on his Instagram from one of him and Chantal to one of himself. And the picture that he used, he took at the campsite. So I think that night when they went to the campsite, they were fighting. He was mad at her, and he decided to punish her or let her know that he was unhappy by changing his profile picture. So maybe this is her trying to get back into his good graces by saying, "Oh, I can be a respectful woman." Da 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 da. Yeah, yeah. But you know what, Chantal? As I said, the Chantal that we're looking at now is not you. This is not the real you. This is you with the volume button turned down a bit, but the real you is still there. You just have to turn the volume down because of where you are and who you're around. But once you get back to Canada, you're going to turn the volume button all the way up.
that has been really meaningful in my journey to recovery as an addict.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Y'all know that I got a lot to say about this, right? I got a lot to say about this. Miss Ma'am over here talking about I'm in recovery. No, you're not. No, no, you're not. You are not recovered. You can't say that. Being in a place where you don't have access to the things that you are addicted to, that does not mean you're in recovery. That just means you are restricted from doing the things you normally do. Now, if you were in Canada and you had access to all of those things, you can go get them at any time, and then you choose not to. And you stay away from them. Say, yes, maybe you are on the path to recovery. But being in a country and around a culture that says no alcohol, no drugs, no drinking, and you can't do those things or you'll get in big trouble, that does not equal recovery. Recovery, Chantal, requires work. It requires determination. It requires willpower. It requires the will to get better, be better. You don't have it. Being in recovery is different than being stopped from doing the things you want to do. Understand that. And you over here talking about recovery, that is a direct slap in the face to anyone and everyone out there that has dealt with addiction. And addiction is something that I would not wish on even my worst enemy, because it's your own personal, private hell. And it's a constant battle, it's a constant fight to stay sober, to stay away from whatever it is you're addicted to. It takes everything out of you to get from one side of the fence to the other and stay there. Recovery is hard earned, but it's rewarding once you have it. But don't you dare sit there and call yourself recovered from anything, because you're not. You're just restricted. You just can't do the things you want to do. So stop using that word recovery. It's offensive.
Which I do still struggle with, just mostly with food here and there. But when I was back at home and substances are readily available, you can overindulge on everything over there. And it's it's a different vibe. Like again, I've heard people say it's it's there's so many like big malls and things, so it's like flashy like Vegas, but minus the debauchery. And I have to agree with that. You don't see people falling over.
You know what I don't like? I don't like how she's trying to blame a country on her problems. Like, oh, all over it. She's trying to say, oh, it's Canada's fault that you had your addictions. No, it's your fault. You chose to do those things. You chose to spend your money on those things. You chose to get involved with those things. Hey, Chantal, part of recovery from an addiction is self-awareness. It's having that point of view where you would openly admit, it's my fault. I did this to myself. I chose to get involved with this. I chose to do this. It's my fault. Just admitting that you started the whole thing. And also having self-awareness about it. You're trying to shift the blame off on Canada. Oh, it's Canada's fault. No, it's your fault. You chose to get on camera and monetize all of your addictions and use your VIBs as your enablers and your funders. That's what you did. You took your addictions and you monetized them. You monetized your self-harm. That's not Canada's fault. That's your fault. That will always be your fault. Even now, you're in Kuwait, still monetizing your food addiction, showing yourself eating on camera. You could easily eat off camera, and that would be fine. But you bring that eating stuff on camera when you've got an eating problem. Incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. It's not something you should be doing. If you've got a BED, you shouldn't monetize it. You shouldn't make money off of it. Because once you do that, you're not going to stop. That money's going to be the motivation to continue.
Over drunk here, throwing up on the street, making jerks of themselves, and it's you just don't you just don't see it here, and it's a very peaceful.
Chantal over there talking about people throwing up drunk in the street. No, not her. Oh, Chantal, you crack me up. You do. She says that. Chantal, all the things you just said, we've seen you do on your channel. You getting on your channel, drunk, mad drunk, practically throwing up on your keyboard, girl. You almost threw up on your keyboard. We've seen you greened out to the point where your eyes roll in the back of your head on camera. Come on now. You're talking about cities of people throwing up drunk in the street. You're doing that stuff on YouTube. Well, you did. And you might go back to it once you get back to Canada.
Vibe. You hear the prayer on the street, people just respecting everything. And I don't know. I find it very peaceful here in a way that I guess unless you live it, you might not really understand it. That's why I like traveling the world and being more.
Huh? You like doing what? You like traveling the world. Girl, you've been to Cuba and you've been to Kuwait. You haven't traveled the world yet. You've not seen every place in the world. And the only reason why you went to Kuwait is because that's where Salah was. It wasn't about you seeking out different areas of the world and exploring. It was about, there's a guy there and I want to get laid. Point blank, period. You went for the D. You wanted access to the D, and the D was thousands of miles away, so you flew there. You can care less about the culture, the people, the country. It was about getting close to the D.
More interested in different cultures because it opens your mind to a lot of things that you never would think about living in the same geographical location for your whole life, you know? And I will say I do see a lot of comments. People are in disbelief with a past like my own coming from such
Past, it ain't. You're acting like all this stuff happened like a year ago. Wasn't it too long ago that you were sleeping with married men? No, it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago. Maybe that's what you told Sala. Maybe that was the picture you painted for him. But we know. We know who you really are. We know what you really did. Okay, we know. We got proof. We got video proof.
such an open place. With a past like mine, how can we make it work? And I have to say, Saul has been nothing but just like so open to, he sees the changes in me, he's supportive of it, and he actually helps. Like I've said,
What changes? What changes? Can anybody help me here? What changes? What has Chantal changed? What has she changed? Okay, so she's not sitting in front of her computer in her bra and panties, which I'm grateful for because I didn't like seeing that. It was inappropriate for YouTube. Nobody signed on for that. So she's changed the way that she's dressed. I think that's a good thing because she's more covered up. I'm grateful for that. I don't want to see private parts of her body. She's not changed her habits with food. They're still very much in place. She's not cursing. She's not swearing. That's because she can't where she's at. Like these changes that she's talking about, it's not really changes. It's just putting on a different persona so she doesn't go to jail. She doesn't get in trouble with the law or with Sala. That's it.
many times being with someone who helps you on this healing process, recognizes that you have a good heart, and
Don't. Who are you kidding? What good heart? You don't have one. To have a good heart, first you have to have a heart, Chantal. You don't. You want to know how I know that? Because you flew yourself all the way to Kuwait. You've been there for what, over a month? And you left your cats alone. And I saw something that absolutely broke my heart on Twitter. Absolutely broke my heart on Twitter. Just wanted to start crying. I saw a clip of Pete's. He didn't know where BBJ was. He finally found BBJ in your room, Chantal, on your bed. I just wanted to cry seeing that because I'm sure that BBJ misses you. BBJ is your baby, just like Sam. She's been with you the longest, and you've left her alone for over a month. It broke my heart. And all I'm going to say to that is, you don't deserve BBJ. You don't deserve a love that pure. And so any misery that you suffer with Sala, you deserve it for leaving your fur babies at home alone.
a willingness to change and respect yourself more. And it's just made such a difference in this journey. I'm not perfect and I'm still struggling sometimes. Change is not linear and it's not overnight. If everyone's patient with me, I think I'm on the right track. I feel it. One thing, speaking of acceptance and friendliness and big hearts, is how welcoming people are. One of the cultural customs is hospitality. People are so nice. And even people here who have hardly anything, or just even if they're struggling, or even if, and no matter what walk of life or financial situation they have, if you are welcomed into someone's home, they will treat you like royalty. They will share their best food with you. They will just be so friendly and welcoming. And it's just, I mean, like you've seen on my live stream, neighbors will bring us like olives at midnight, or just anytime they cook, they think of you, they bring you food. And so I've kind of learned, okay, you know what? I like this and I'm going to share too. So whenever somebody brings us something and um, the dish is empty, now we fill it with.
So you're in a country with very friendly people, welcoming people. That's fantastic. So when you were camping with Sala and you had the chance to socialize with other women, talk to other women, and you were supposed to help with the cleaning, you didn't. You begged off and said, I've got a migraine. Although if you had a migraine, what were you doing with your camera in your face and the bright lights on your face? Anybody that's had a migraine, you can't do that. But there was your chance to socialize with other people at the campsite, to be a good guest and help with the cleaning. You didn't. You were being selfish. And you begged off, saying, oh, I've got a headache, I've got a migraine. So everybody else is being welcoming and everything else, and you over there acting like a selfish brat.
With something and give it back. So it's a really, they rely on this kind of community of friendliness to help each other. That being said, I did learn that it's custom. If somebody offers you something in their home, try not to turn it down, because usually they're offering you something they're proud of making or something. Like we went to someone's home and they offered, I wasn't hungry and I was kind of full because they made us like some food, and we just had dinner, but they offered me like on top of that like a fresh banana smoothie, and I was like, with some fresh bananas they just got, and I said no. No thank you. And they kind of looked at me like, like didn't really understand, and then they offered me again later, so I did say yes that time, and it was delicious. But also, if you're eating and you don't want to eat anymore, be sure to leave a bit of food on your plate, because they'll just keep filling your plate with food. Like, people really like to feed people here and be nice. And it's like a heartwarming feeling I can't explain. It's such a peaceful culture, peaceful religion. The people are so amazing. And yes, it seems conservative probably to people in the Western world, but as long as you're respectful, there should be no problem. Same thing.
Well, that's going to be the hardest part for you, being respectful. You've never been respectful. You've always been feral.
If you want, like if you're having coffee, it's custom like after meals to have some tea or Arabic coffee with some like salty seeds, like sunflower seeds or nuts. But if you don't like, this is more for men who do this. Um, Men, if you're done drinking you have to shake your glass, because people will just keep filling it. One thing I see a lot is talk about the differences between men and women. So even on the website, the visa website, it does say Kuwait, like a lot of Islamic countries, are predominantly patriarchal, meaning they're male dominated. But I find that Kuwait is a lot more open compared to some countries. Like, women can drive and things like that now. They're in the workforce with equal pay. There are certain things that women and men do separate. And in my vlog, that's all that I meant. But I did edit out that part because I felt like I wasn't explaining it properly. First of all, men and women, it's custom that they socialize separately, usually, especially in public. In the home, it's different. In the home, you can do.
And that's going to be the hardest part for her, isn't it? That's going to be the hardest part for Chantal, because she doesn't like other women. She hates other women. She looks at women as competition. She looks at them as the enemy. So she's in a country and a culture where men and women, they socialize separately, which would mean that she has to socialize with other women. How is she going to do so if she doesn't want to socialize with other women? How is she going to accomplish that? If you're in a country and a culture where generally men and women stay separate for some things, how can you deal with that, Chantal, if you have that antisocial behavior when it comes to other females. I mean, you had your chance at the camping site. There were women there. Did you socialize with them? Did you talk with them? No. Did you help them with the cleaning? No. You didn't do that. There was your chance to talk to other women, maybe learn from them, get their points of view on things, maybe have a good laugh about something, ask their advice. You didn't do none of that. You decided to go to a tent and pout because Sala left you alone. Maybe you guys were fighting. Maybe he just wanted to spend time with the men because he's been with you for over a month. He just wanted to hang out with the guys. And you were pouting. You were so angry that night that you were clenching that jaw, talking. You were mad that he left you alone because you always need attention. You just can't get it through your head that no matter who your partner is, everybody, no matter what country you're from, what culture you're a part of, it's healthy for people to have time away from the partners and hang out with the friends or the family or go do things for yourself. It's healthy because you can do your own thing and then come home to your partner and tell them about what happened in your day, and they can tell you what they did in their day. You don't have to spend every waking moment next to your partner. It gets boring after a while because if you're around each other constantly, you know what each other did. What is there to talk about? It's just healthy to have your own life. But you don't believe in that. You believe in just your partner has to be right next to you or you don't trust them.
Do whatever you want. You can dress however you want. You know, you're married, you're together, you're it's your private home. But in public, there's certain customs. And in my video, I just meant we were just doing things separately. Actually, the women can smoke shisha if they want to. It's a personal choice.
So why haven't you? I'm genuinely curious here. Why haven't you smoked the shishka? Is because Sala doesn't want you to? Because you're on YouTube? I'm just curious. I'm asking questions. We know you want to smoke something. You're dying to smoke something. You've been talking about smoking it, so why haven't you on YouTube?
What I'm wearing is a personal choice. Women, I would say there are women, mostly from other cultures. There's a large Indian and Filipino population here. A lot of them don't cover because they're not Arab or they're not Muslim. And the ones who are, though, I usually see them usually always in hijab, or and a lot of women I've seen in niqab as well. So back to the men and women doing separate things. There's actually a custom called Diawania. I had to practice that a few times, so that's maybe why there's a jump cut there. Diawania is gathering of men at where they socialize, at cafes, smoke shisha together, have drinks, non-alcoholic, and just socialize together. Again, it's very conservative that way, which is why we also deleted some things that I'm learning. So if I do something that's a little bit out of the norm or a little questionable, it's just out of ignorance or just for.
This is her admitting she did a naughty no. She did a naughty no. Filming all those places, that's a naughty no. She just admitted it. She knows it. That's what. Look at her looking down. She knows what she did.
Getting or not aware at all. I mean, you can prepare and research all you want, but experience is the biggest teacher, right? So I do edit things out of respect or just to avoid problems in the future.
There's the real reason. She said, I edit things out of respect or to avoid problems. It's not about respect, y'all. It's about avoiding problems, i.e., going to jail or getting a fine or getting a good talking to by the officials. She's avoiding problems, legal problems. Chantal's never given a crap about respect. She doesn't respect anything, not even herself. It's about avoiding problems, avoiding consequences.
Future, but public displays of affection are very big no-no. even with the most loving married people, all men and women do not do that in public here with each other. If you do come here, even though you don't have to technically cover your head, out of respect, they do expect you to dress conservatively as a woman. So covering your shoulders, covering at least, down to your ankles. I usually go out always in an abaya, sometimes niqab. I've been sometimes wearing that, but always in hijab. The niqab actually, it's comes to here, and the air actually flows under it. It's not covered like a mask, so it's not too bad, and it just goes under this with an elastic, so it's actually not that uncomfortable. It's not really uncomfortable actually, and I'm kind of used to this. Sometimes it is hot, I'm overweight and I'm fully covered. So until, it took some getting used to, but I'm getting a lot more used to it. And being here in the winter is so much better. From what I'm told, I don't think I could stand the summer here, but yeah. All right. So that's about it for this video. I think I've said everything I want to say.
That's fine. We're done with you anyway. All right, y'all. That's it for Chantal's Canadian Culture Shock vlog video. Hope you guys have enjoyed this react. If you have, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Oh, you know what? Never mind that. Scratch that. I'm almost forgetting about the comment sections. Let's see. What do the comment section have to say? Let's see. She looks like she's editing the comments. She did. She edited all the comments because there's nothing negative here. She's checking the comments section. She's editing it. So we're going to skip that. Sorry about that. I didn't know. All right. I'm out, y'all. Peace out and please take care. Bye-bye.